Hey guys, how's it going? KRIPP'S here. Today I want to give you guys the guide for Minion Necromancer in Season 6 Vessel of Hatred. Now, before we get any further, I want to be super upfront with you guys. It's not this build. This category of builds is not going to be like the cream of the crop. It's not going to be top of the meta. It's not going to be even close to that, okay? But there is one thing that it is good at. It is possibly, if not the very best leveling build in the game. And there are actually some pretty good endgame builds for Necromancer, so what I expect is tons of people will be playing minions as they move in and transition into the more endgame Necromancer builds. I did want to make a full guide for this one, not because it's a build that I think will compete with the best, but because I am confident it is the very best minion necro possible. And on one hand, everyone's going to be playing it to level necros, and on the other, some people just really want to play minions, and it doesn't matter to them how good or bad minion necro is, okay? Blizzard has spent most of the previous seasons kind of fixing the quirkiness, the bad AI, the survivability of minions, all that stuff, and they kind of have, but one thing they haven't fixed is the damage. The damage compared to endgame builds, it just does not keep up. I do not expect this build to go higher than like pit 75 or 80, but just to be clear, I don't expect any other minion-based necro build to go any higher. This is the very best. I have personally played this setup and this build on the private test realm, so one after the PTR. Is going to be some notes that are going to be a little bit new when the game actually is released, but the version that we play is going to be really close, so I am coming from experience. If you guys do want to check out this build as you see it in its written form, make sure to check it out on Mobalytics. I will have a link for the build in the description below. All the KRIPP builds are on Mobalytics, so make sure to check them out. I got some good stuff there. So this is a Golem Summoner once again. So I do have a pretty brief highlight on how it works. So if I go a little bit too quickly through something in this video, again, make sure to check out the link. I have it all written down. Why is this the best minion build? So what do? So we have all the minions. Okay. We have the golem. Yep. We use the blood golem. This is the big button. Okay. So we have a new temper. Golem hits twice. Okay, so we can put that on your weapon. So is this good? Yes, it is good. It actually works on the golem button. So if you have like 100% chance for the golem to hit twice, when you golem button, it will do the damage twice. Okay, and it doesn't roll it, I believe. It just does whatever it hits a second instance after it. So that's really good. Big damage multiplier there. We have Fel Gluttony. This is a new aspect in Season 6. Your golem active also causes your golem to erupt, dealing, it's like 200% physical damage to surrounding enemies. Your golem consumes corpses to reduce his remaining cooldown by 1 second. Wow, this looks so good, KRIPP. Well, much like everything else with minions, it's like monkey paw. It's like, nah, you're getting wrecked. This damage that the aspect says that the golem is doing is actually the player that is doing it. It does not scale off any minion modifiers. The damage is complete trash tier regardless of the value on this aspect. It's going to be like, wow, it's so much damage, and then you use it and there's no damage. The corpses being consumed to reduce its cooldown, it triggers once per second. So it's not like there's 5 corpses around, bam, minus 5 seconds. That's insane. Nope, it's just 1 per second, but that's still pretty good. So the base blood golem cooldown is 16 seconds. If you have no cooldown reduction on your entire gear and you just have golem active cooldown reduction with a few, I think you don't need like this many masterworking crits. You need like, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3. You can get your golem to 4 seconds. And if you get it to 4 seconds, the aspect of gluttony will trigger 2 times, effectively making that cooldown 2 seconds. So is a 2-second cooldown good for golem? Honestly, you can't get any faster than that, because when you press the Golem button, the Golem then takes a second to actually use the ability, okay? If you somehow, you can't, but if somehow you'd have the Golem button with 0 cooldown, you couldn't just spam it like you would an actual skill, because the Golem has to get into position, then use the skill. Effectively, you will not be able to get your Golem cooldown lower than like 1.5 to 2 seconds. So with this setup here, we basically have as fast of a Golem cooldown recover as possible. We are getting the corpses from the Reapers that spawn it. Okay, cool. So that's how that works. Golem button, double damage. Golem button, twice as often. And most importantly, the corpses consumed by Fel Gluttony, I swear I can't believe I'm saying this, it's the player that's consuming them. I don't know what the hell's wrong with anything that has to do with minions on Blizzard's end, but damn, dude. In this case, it's actually a good thing. Why is that a good thing? Because when we go to Paragon, and again, the Paragon systems, a lot of stuff is going to be new. Even after the PTR, a lot of stuff is going to be new. For example, Cult Leader is actually 40% per 20 attack speed, so we get a little bit more damage there. But a really big one is, where is it here? Yes, consuming 5 corpses grants 40 damage multiplier for 6 seconds. So this would be normally a pain in the ass to actually use, but now it's not, because it just automatically happens, because the corpses that your Golem consumes, wink wink, is actually you consuming the corpses, so they actually count for this node. So the uptime on this node, without you doing anything, is really good. So, you know, a little bit of saving grace. The way that I look at it is like, this aspect is good, even though Blizzard butchered how it should work. It's good because you get twice as many Golem cooldowns, and you get the multiplier in the Paragons through the corpse usage. So, it's not bad. Okay, it's not bad. All right, what else is new? Great Feast, I'll go into that in a second. The new stuff, we have minions. So Spirit Wolves. Spirit Wolves are minions. I don't know. I guess they are. Yeah, they're minions. So this will count towards Kalan's Edict, which on the planner here is 3% attack speed per minion, which doesn't seem like that much. But on the test realm, after the PTR, Kalan's Edict is 3% attack speed and 3% damage multiplier per minion. So you're not going to have that many wolves from this thing, but if you get like 5 wolves, 15 damage multiplier. Hello. And also the wolves do some damage. They have kind of like a cold hit that I think applies a small amount of like chill, which turns into stagger for bosses. I mean, it's basically garbage, but okay. And then you get the Warcry, which does work on minions. Petrify was actually nerfed. The crit damage didn't work for minions to begin with, so now the minion build is a little bit closer to the other builds. You know, at least a little bit of saving grace there. All right, so Great Feast. Your minions deal 45% increased damage. On a two-hander, that goes to 90. Each one drains 1 essence from you per second. So, wait, how can you cast Decrepify and Blight? That's a great question. The answer is, normally you can't. But the way that this aspect actually works is, if you put it on an amulet or a two-hander, it drains 2 essence per minion, which sounds twice as bad, but actually it's how it's good. So we have the extra minions on the amulet, because remember, every extra minion of any kind gives you 3% minion damage multiplier, but also having an extra mage means 3% more damage again, and if you have an extra Reaper, it means more corpses to fuel your Golem, and you definitely need that. And wait, that just makes the drain from Great Feast worse. Actually, it doesn't. The reason is that the Great Feast is not a drain. It just removes your essence. But until you have how much it costs per second, it doesn't remove any. So if you put the Occult Dominion on your amulet, you're going to have 7 Reapers, 6 Mages, and the Golem, so that's 14 minions. And even if you have no wolves out, that's 28 essence per second that you lose. But you won't lose any until you actually have 28 essence, which means that as long as you're keeping your essence pretty low, you are able to cast Blight and Decrepify easily. The other thing that helps with this is the new ultimate, Soul Rift. Soul Rift is an incredible skill. I actually couldn't believe how good it is. We're putting 5 points. We want as low a cooldown as possible. It gives you up to a 30% multiplier for damage. And a lot of people are going to use Army of the Dead, but like, think about it. If you use Army of the Dead, and then it doesn't give any damage, but then you use the Aspect, right? But then the Aspect takes an Aspect. Yes, it's 100% damage, but if you do Soul Rift, which is 30, and just use another Aspect that gives you 30% damage, like Conceited, because it also gives you Barrier, well, suddenly that's just almost 100% damage, and the uptime on Soul Rift is way higher. So Army of the Dead is gonzo. It is garbage tier. It is Soul Rift meta. You get 30 damage, you get constant vulnerable, you get constant essence, so even though your Great Feast is chunking you down, even if you get chunked to 0, it's going to go up pretty quickly with Soul Rift because it has like a really big regen. It's also giving you Barrier. Barrier is huge. Prevent one-shots. We also have this new thing, damage multi for 8 seconds after casting an ultimate, and Soul Rift has a much lower cooldown than Army of the Dead. So we're going all in on Soul Rift, to the point where we're actually going and stacking Soul Rift duration. Yes, it is actually that good. Another thing to help with essence regen is Tibalt's Will. So Tibalt's Will is actually a pretty good item. It's a pant slot, and you are getting 20% damage multiplier, and then when you become unstoppable, you get 50 primary resource. This was not really good enough to use until this patch, because even if you stacked Golem cooldown like crazy, 4 seconds was just as much as you had, and the Golem cooldown gives you unstoppable for like 2 or 3 seconds. But now, because of the new Golem aspect, you can actually have unstoppable 100% of the time. And if you have unstoppable 100% of the time, you have the damage bonus 100% of the time. You have the damage reduction while unstoppable 100% of the time. So actually, Tibalt's Will is really, really good. Now, I have probably hyped you guys up for this a little bit too much. Again, I want you guys to just keep in mind, even if you get an Air of Perdition, which is definitely what you want, I would be really surprised if this build goes to like 90 on the pit tiers. Now, 90 might still be better than a lot of builds out there, but there's going to be builds that are going to go 100. And you're going to need to do like 100 to realistically level your glyphs. So, unfortunately, the state of minions as a whole is that minion players will not be able to max out their own glyphs, even. It is going to be a pretty bad state of balance if you want to play minions at least. But, you know, the saving grace is that there are actually Necro builds that are some of the best builds in the game. I actually have one with the Blood Spirit build also on Mobalytics. And, you know, even if minions don't make it to endgame, they are going to be what you play until you get there. So, hope you guys enjoyed this guide, and we'll see you next time.